Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time, once again, for some more Bloodsword. It's been a few days since I was last able to record this, so here we go. When last I was playing, we had set sail upon a vessel headed towards an island where there is a wizard, I believe called Entasius, who will aid us in our quest, if we can persuade him to. We are heading into the realm of death to recover the sword that was stolen by Icon the Ungodly and his ancestors. The theft seems very dishonourable. Then again, Icon the Ungodly has a very interesting notion of honour. He has the dishonourable perception that honour only applies to honourable people, and as such, if he deems us to be below his station, then he does not need to act honourably towards us, and that somehow acting dishonourably towards us would not reflect badly on him because he is an honourable person and above it all or something. It's not a very modern opinion, but it's an interesting one that speaks to his motives as a villain. And I did want to, at some point, have a bit of a talk about how he acts as a villain, behaves as a villain in the story of within the frame of the overarching story structure of the adventure campaign as a whole. But maybe now is not the time. Let's get back on the ship. And we will remember that last time I rolled a healing check for this section already. Wasn't a very good result. But there we go. We have Captain Puldro the Cornumbrian, which might be somewhere between Cornwall and Northumberland. Northumberland. The difference being that Cornwall and Northumberland are at extreme opposite sides of our great nation and have distinctly different accents, so I'm not sure exactly how I should speak. Also, it's been a few days, so I can't quite remember. I mean, Cornwall would be your kind of traditional... Cornwall and Bristol would be your kind of traditional pirate accent. Northumberland, oh god, it's like Northumberland, I don't know. It's very sort of wobbly, yeah, it's sort of wobbly in the mouth, so... I think I went with something a bit like this last time. Hang on, a bit of a harder northern edge. I'm not sure exactly. We'll go with that this time then, okay. Puldro struts up and down on the bridge, waving his arms like an excited grasshopper as he screeches orders to the crew. Under his direction, or perhaps in spite of it, as you notice the first mate quietly countermanding Puldro's orders from time to time, the Providence is soon sailing out of the harbour mouth. The men begin a jolly sea shanty, accompanied by the pilgrims and the barking of the ship's dog Gus. In fact, they probably sang a sea shanty for casting off from the docks, because there's a sea shanty for every job on a ship. "The fair wind," says Puldro, squinting against the glare of sunlight as he looks up at the blazing white sails. They strain in the rigging, hauling the massive ship inexorably northwards across the Diorsk Ocean. You're about to answer when Puldro sticks out a thin hand to point at a man who is just coming on deck. "Ah, there is our quartermaster. Gaffrick, come here." He turns to you. "Gaffrick will show you where to store your gear. Perhaps I'll see you later on, once I can trust my officers to handle the ship on their own. Prayers are here on deck at sunset, by the way." Gaffrick shows you to a crowded corner of the forecastle. Of the forecastle. Yes, I know forecastle is the full term, but forecastle is the nautical pronunciation. Where you are astonished to find that each man or woman has only a space some 2 meters by 1 meter in which to sleep. "Not exactly the lap of luxury," he admits when he sees your disapproving look. "More like the armpit of squalor. There is not room here to swing a cat o' nine tails." "Aye, well," he says, "'tis only the mate who'd swing a cat, and that would be up on deck against the main mast. The captain has had men keel-hauled once or twice, though, and then there was that brigand from Algandy. Him we made walk the plank. You dismiss Gaffrick before he becomes too carried away with his ghoulish reminiscences, then you settle your belongings into the meagre space allotted to you. If you bought 4 magic swords from a landlord's brother at the heart of Sunrise Inn, no, we couldn't afford it, and we would have had to get all 4 and ditch so many of our existing decent items it wasn't worth it. We did buy the Talk of Indomitable Will. I'll notice there's nothing here about buying the Charm of Protection from the Good Voyages or whatever it is. A moment. Which I know we did buy. I'm just looking for it now to find it. Because we purchased 2 items. The Talk of Iron Will and the other one. What was it called? Amulet of Safe Voyaging. There we go. Well, we got the Talk of Indomitable Will. Here we go. After examining the talk thoroughly, you are convinced that it has no magic power whatsoever. It is not even solid gold, only brass. If only you hadn't been so hasty to buy from the wretch. He obviously timed his approach perfectly, knowing you were too anxious to board the Providence to give careful thought to what you were buying. Okay, if we're extremely lucky, it might just be magical later on, or we might be able to trick someone with it. But as it is, fine. We didn't buy the 4 magic swords, so I'm not going to discard the item just yet, but it will be kind of top of the list if we have to ditch something to take up something else. And I'll try a 2-point healing roll here, because we've got 11 points of endurance to recover. 2 points are lost. Right, if this continues, I'm going to have to start to use the Ointment of Healing. He's now down 7. She's down 6. It's worth saving the ointment for after a fight if we're all low on health and healing rolls are risky. But it's also worth, because we can use it 10 times, it's worth using it once or twice early on to reduce the amount of time we'll need to be carrying it. Well, let's see how our journey continues. Several weeks pass. In the crowded forecastle, with the ship swaying to and fro whenever there is a high wind, you get what rest you can. The pilgrims seem boundlessly cheerful, buoyed up by their faith, but you find conditions aboard the Providence noisome. Any wounded player... Right, okay, so hold it. We should have used the ointment in the last session. Must roll a die to see how well his or her recovery progresses. Oof. Okay, it's not particularly bad. Right, so we'll roll for Brother Kern. Continual nausea interrupts your sleep. Regain 2 dice of endurance points. That's fine. He recovers fully. And Ariadne... Oh, a 5. Making the best of poor conditions, you recover 4 dice of endurance. Now, she's only down 6 points, so with 4 dice, she's probably going to get it all back. 12 points, yeah, absolutely. She'll be on full health as well by the time we reach the next section. In which case, I'm glad I did not use the healing ointment last section after all. No player can regain points above the levels set by character type and rank, of course, unless they've done certain things in Book 1 or 3 that increase their maximum endurance points by like 1 or 2 points. On we go then. Oh, that is a long section. Okay. As dusk falls on the 30th day out of Crescentium, the cry of "Land ahoy!" goes up. An island lies ahead, rocky cliffs blazing like amber in the fading sunlight. You hurry on deck with Gus the dog at your heels. He soon sniffs out Puldro among the pressing crowd of pilgrims. "Could it be in Tacius's island?" you ask Puldro. "Not unless it has moved. We aren't yet halfway across the Diorsk Ocean." Hearing the commotion from the pilgrims emerge from the forecastle... Hearing the commotion, more of the pilgrims emerge from the forecastle and begin to crowd along the rail to watch the island draw nearer. The ship lists under the sudden imbalance of load, but they ignore the mate's admonitions. "All of you get back," he says. "Do you want us to capsize?" "If that be God's will," replies one man loudly. "Perhaps this island is the land of the blessed, after all, to which we have been brought by reason of our sanctity." The idea catches in the imagination of the other pilgrims. "Aye," cries one fervently, "salvation is at hand, brothers. Behold the rock of paradise." The crowd gives a strange sigh, like a sob of joy. Puldro realizes too late what they intend. "It may be the island of Medusa, who turns men to stone with her gaze. It may be the magnetic isle written of by Claudius of Olac. It might be Anuvin, or Sheol itself. We cannot land here." But the mood of the pilgrims has already begun to infect the crew. "Can you not hear the music, Captain?" says the lookout. A rapturous smile spreads across his scarred face. "And there's a bevy of merry maids on yonder cliff top, or I'm a squint-eyed newt. It's Fiddler's Green, Captain! Fiddler's Green!" Isn't Fiddler's Green in London? Without any orders from Puldro, the sailors trim the sails and steer the ship in towards the shore. Several pilgrims jump towards the shore with ecstatic cries and begin to swim towards the island. Apparently, though, you like the idea no more than Puldro does. The ship is anchoring here, so we can try to rescue them. I thought this was the end of the section. That's why it looked so long. Okay. Well, we got ourselves into a situation here. It would seem that perhaps the amulet of safe voyaging may not be so good after all, although... The Providence puts into a small sheltered cove where it is an easy matter to put the gangplank across to a flat-topped rock. Immediately the pilgrims and sailors begin to stream ashore. After 15 minutes, you, Puldro, Gus the dog, and the obsequious Gaffrick are the only ones left on board. "You sea dogs!" Puldro yells at his men. "You worm-eaten biscuits! Desert your captain, will you? In Cornumbria there'll be a reckoning for this!" His mate, his ugly face now transformed by a blissful expression, turns from the throng as they make their way inland. "But we'll not be going back to Cornumbria, Captain. Not ever. We've found Fiddler's Green, the high brie sail of legend. Captain, forget your crotchety old ways, you spinsterish naggings. Join us!" Puldro's thin face is lit by blotches of purple. He struggles with outrage to find his voice. "Oh-ho, Liam! Found your words after years of civility, eh? And such words you have for your captain? Spinisterish, am I? Crotchety! Wait till my sword spills your guts on the ground, then we'll have cause to insult me." He runs to the gangplank, drawing his sword. The mate, Liam, waits on the shore without any sign of concern, much less fear. We can try and dissuade Puldro from attacking. We can let him go, but decide to stay on board ourselves. We can follow him down the gangplank. There seems to be some kind of spell or madness, or simple just group hysteria, drawing everyone to the island. Nothing is drawing the captain. Why is he not affected by this? Is it just that he's so strongly attached to his ship? We have a quest, a purpose, a reason to be going somewhere else. If we follow down the gangplank and set foot on the island, we may be affected by whatever is infecting the others. Although... and if we let him go down the gangplank onto the island, we will be stuck on the ship with nobody else, no one to help us sail the ship, and we can't do it on our own. Much more importantly, if the captain goes and attacks his first mate, it will make everyone on the island much less likely to want to come with us. Let's try and persuade him not to agitate the situation any further. You catch Puldro's arm before he steps onto the gangplank. The men are under some sort of spell, you say. Sorry, the man is under some sort of spell, you say. He does not intend his words to sound mutinous. And yet mutinous is what they are, blurts Puldro, fairly shaking with indignation. What do you counsel? That I should allow such a lapse of discipline to pass unpunished? I've always run a tight ship. Perhaps that's why your men succumb so readily to such a delusion, you reply. Liam is still standing at the foot of the gangplank. The beatific grin on his face makes him look like an imbecile. It's paradise, Captain. These good pilgrims have been blown here by a holy wind, and it's our good luck to share their reward for a life of virtue. Don't pour the wine away looking for a mark on the bottle, eh? Puldro gurgles with rage and hurls a belaying pin at the mate. It falls by his feet, but he only gives a sad shake of his head and shrugs before walking slowly away. This provokes Puldro's fury to such an extent that you would have to hold him to prevent him trying to jump to the shore from here. As soon as you let go, he throws you a sharp glance and then runs down the gangplank to chase the mate. At this point, something is trying to get all of us onto the island. Something there, possibly about the other ship that we did not go on. Looks like we're lucky there. So let's try and ignore that. Right, so now everybody is on the island except us. The ship's not leaving until more people get on it. We could cast ourselves adrift, but that wouldn't really help us. So we're not going anywhere on this empty ship. And by all means, it makes sense that we should just go down there and try and sort it out. It also makes sense that if there's nothing on the island, and there is no magical curse or anything drawing people to it, that they'll eventually all get bored and tired and want to come back on the ship. Or they'll be like sitting out hating each other, refusing to, because they don't want to be shown up as having made a big mistake. So let's wait here. Inaction seems like a wise course of action. We shall await results. This may be risky, but I'm going for it. You set Garthrick to keep him the first watch, but when you go on deck to relieve him just before midnight, you find him snoring under a tarpaulin. He wakes with a terrified start when you poke him in the ribs. "Oh, Garthrick, we have been boarded by Satan's hordes," you tell him. "While you slept soundly, they put a brimstone torch to the ship and carried our souls off to hell." "Eh?" he says, blinking. You seize him by the front of his jerkin and give him a good shaking. "Fool! As long as we remain here, we must be vigilant. Who knows what terrors lurk in the island? We could have paid with our lives for your few hours of slumber. Since God has chosen to leave you with your senses unmuddled, even as your fellow sailors cavort in the depths of delusion, at least repay his kindness by acting responsibly. I was tired, he replies sulkily. It has been a long day for me, up and about my duties since before dawn. You're about to answer when the dog, Gus, leaps up and runs to the rail. Looking across the starlit island, he suddenly throws back his head and gives a terrible, despairing howl. Gaffrick crosses himself. You go over and haul Gus away from the side. He is whining and whimpering inconsolably. We can let him stay on deck despite the racket he's making, or shut him in the hold. If we keep him on deck, he may run off onto the island, but I think there's been some kind of horrible loss. The captain's been killed or something. The dog is feeling this. He may also be... I think he's reacting to something, not just scared of something. Whatever it is, I think the dog has sensed something. If we put him down in the hold, he won't be able to cause any trouble, run off, attack anything that comes. But if we keep him up here on deck, he'll be able to warn us if something comes closer that we may otherwise be unaware of. But it does put us at greater risk and at risk of losing the dog. I think we will keep the dog up here on deck because the risk of something nasty coming for us is a little too great. Gus goes on whining most of the night. By dawn you are feeling mortally tired and you feel decidedly malevolent towards the wretched animal. Cease your noise, you snap, aiming a kick at his rump. A breakfast of dog meat is becoming an increasingly attractive notion. Is the hound causing you annoyance? Calls a voice from ashore. It is Puldro, waving his arm frenetically. Lower the gangplank, he says. I wish to come aboard. You help Gaffrick put out the gangplank. Puldro staggers aboard as though drunk. His lips are pulled back in an eerie grin and he fixes you with eyes like bright glass. Eh? Why do you stare? Why do you stare, huh? He is behaving oddly, but it is Gus who convinces you to draw your weapons. The dog is staring at Puldro with his ears right back. Slowly, crouching down, he gives vent to a trembling growl. He is both angry and terrified. Good dog, says Puldro in a monotone. Gus slinks back, shivering until he is pressed against the coil of hemp. Drop your sword, Puldro, you say. At least until we find out what's wrong with you. He answers with a mad screech. You attack. We get to fight him, but he must spend the first round getting his sword out of his scabbard. He hasn't surprised us. If we didn't have the dog here, the dog would not have revealed that he was some kind of enemy. There's definitely something malevolent going on this isle, if indeed island it is. Something horrible has befallen Puldro. At your first blow, one of his eyes pops out and rolls across the deck. It is glass, and sawdust, not blood, starts to stream from the wounds you inflict. Right. This is aboard ship. I'll see if I can find a quick map to use, and see you all in a bit. Here's our map. It's quick and simple. I suspect that the flee option here is down the gangplank and onto the island, which is something we should probably avoid. So Captain Puldro has a fighting prowess of 6, which is a little on the low end. He does 3 dice of damage, which is quite respectable. A psychic ability of 12, which means he's basically immune to all psychic spells. An awareness of 4, which means he's slow. He's basically some kind of lumbering Hulk zombie with an endurance of 40. So, his eye is glass. Both of them may have been. His body's full of sawdust. Something bad has happened to him. and probably to everyone else who set foot upon the island. With a fighting prowess of 6, he's not likely to land that many blows. The ones he does, though, will hurt like hell. With that in mind, we do need to be doing some damage. So, Remy's going to attack. Let's get a little bit closer to the action. Remy slices at the sawdust stuffed man and deals a mere 4 points of damage. Okay, it's okay, it all counts. Brother Kern will move up and attack as well, because the more targets we can give him... Oh, that's a miss, isn't it? Yeah, that's not ideal. And so Alwyn has a magic axe, which he will use. Oh yes, he definitely used that. Alright. Let's see if we can get a nice good damage number as well. That is not great, but it'll do. 6 points takes him down to 30. So Puldro is now leaking sawdust from 2 injuries. Ariadne has a Nemesis Bolt spell prepared, which she's going to try and cast, and it's going to be quite nasty, because she's probably going to fail a few rounds anyway. So, Nemesis Bolt is a complexity level 5 spell. So she's rolling 2d6 plus 5. Seeking to get an 8 or less, so looking for a 3. Obviously that didn't happen. But we're one step closer, and next round we're on 4s. Given the amount of endurance points Puldro has, defending is good. The Nemesis Bolt is a good option. Captain Puldro will attack left to right. He's picking on Brother Kern. Okay. He's missing. We fight on. He flails around blindly with his weapon, almost like he's not used to how the joints in his body work, I imagine. Remy will attack again. That's a hit. That's 7 points of damage. We might not get to pull off our Nemesis Bolt. Or his health is now at the sort of level where it would be very, pretty much take him out. Brother Kern will defend, retaining his health for healing the fight afterwards. So Alwyn will attack, as he is fearless and seeks to put an end to this threat. A 10 is just about to hit because we have a magic weapon. And that magic... No, 2d6 plus 5. Why plus 5? Oh, spellcasting, right, yeah. Another 6. He's rolled another 4 for damage, which is... Okay, takes him down to 17 endurance points. Ariadne will attempt to cast her Nemesis Bolt spell, now on 2d6 plus 4. That also did not happen. Captain Puldro will pick a victim, any victim, and he's going for Remy, the hardest target. Well, not exactly, because Brother Kern is currently defending, and he misses. We are going to have everyone defend so Ariadne can empty her mind of this spell. So now we're on 2d6 plus 3. Again, rolled a bit high. Puldro will pick a target. He goes for the defending sage. And misses completely. That's okay. Let's have another round of letting Ariadne try and cast a spell, now on 2d6 plus 2. At this point, her chance of casting this spell is the same as Captain Puldro's of landing a blow against someone who's not defending and not Remy. She failed. It may very well be worth just putting an end to him and saving this spell for the next encounter, to be honest. On an average dice roll, the spell's going to do enough damage to end the fight. Let's go one more. So the captain will attack Remy. An 8 will miss. He rolled good low on those 3 dice. We'll go one more round of trying to cast. Now we're on 2d6 plus 1. And fails. Okay. Bit of an issue. Now let's see how many more times she can fail to cast. Right, so that's captain attacks. Attacks for Sage. And misses. And then we come back round to Ariadne. Now she's on a straight 2d6 roll. Haha! 12. Right, go on, Captain Puldro. They're toying with you now. He goes for Remy again. And obviously misses. That's okay. Ariadne, you're now on 2d6 minus 1. Finally. Only took her 7 rounds to cast the spell. The dice do not like us today. 7 dice plus 7. Sure. $25 points of damage. Takes Captain Puldro out of the fight. I'm going to leave him there, in case something strange and supernatural happens, and we have to fight him again or something. Let's see what occurs. We are not leaving the vessel. Not yet, at any rate. I imagine if we set foot on the island, we'd have to make psychic rolls. You have defeated Puldro, but you have not killed him. Someone else did that hours ago, and then stuffed his skin with sawdust and used magic to animate this grisly mannequin. After a few moments looking at his torn remains, you have to go to the rail and throw up. Gaffrick is dancing agitatedly around the deck. "It is an island of horror that we stumbled upon, and no mistake," he wails. "Now we're trapped here. We'll be caught and flayed and made to walk around with stuffing in dust instead of innards, and only glass eyes to see the world with." You slap him across the face, bringing him out of his hysteria. "We cannot man the Providence," you say. "But what about her cutter?" Gaffrick eyes the small rowing boat dubiously. "On southern seas, perhaps. Here in the Diorsk Ocean, the weather is all storms and heavy swells. We'd be doomed as surely as if we'd stayed here on the island, but," he adds, with another fearful glance at Puldro's remains, "at least drowning would be a clean death. We can take the rowing boat out onto the open sea, or we can go ashore and scout out the island." Something tells me we now have to go onto the island. If we get in the boat, we have the Amulet of Safe Voyaging, which may be another fake. It might do absolutely nothing. But what it could do is persuade Gaffrick to come in the boat with us. And without him, we may not be able to make the journey. It does... is it dishonourable to leave all the people here on the island to die? I think they already have. So Alwyn may suffer here. I think we need to get in the boat and leave. Everything is warning me that this island is bad news and I need to avoid it. It shouldn't even be here. Let's get in the boat and row away. Gaffrick helps you lower the rowing boat into the water, but when it comes to leaving the Providence, he begins to dither. "No, I'm for staying," he says at last. "Mayhap the others will come to their senses. That at least is a chance that the rowing boat is certain. That at least is a chance, but the rowing boat is certain death." You shrug and climb down into the boat. "Please yourself. Good luck, Gaffrick." And may all saints watch over you, he calls as you row away. Beware of high winds, bail constantly however much your arms may ache, and look out too for the white shark which is said to hunt in these northern seas. White shark? Now he tells you. You row out of the cove and let your course, and setting your course by the rising sun, begin to head north. If the sage is here and he or she has a bow with at least 4 arrows, Brother Kern has 6 arrows, and we could have given him some of Remy's. Sure. What are we going to do? Shoot Gaffrick 4 times? No, I imagine it'll be some kind of fishing. 78. Was it 75? Yes, it was, just up here. You know from Philomene's zoology that the white shark is virtually blind and relies on pilot fish to guide it to its prey. These fish act as outriders, swimming in a wide formation with the shark and taking back news of any likely prey they chance upon. In return for this service, they get any scraps that the shark misses. Taking your bow in your hand, you stand in the front of the boat and wait for the pilot fish to show. They swim close to the surface, and with your paranormal sight it is easy to spot them and pick them off. Delete 4 arrows from the supply recorded on your character sheet. Since the fish do not return to notify the shark of your location, he passes you by. Your boat drifts on a southerly current. You are safe for the time being. In that case, I am grateful for Brother Kern's knowledge. I knew it was going to be something... I did wonder if it might be like arranging the arrows on the deck in the shape of a constellation to then look up and find it in the sky or something. I mean, this doesn't feel much like safe voyaging. Not safe at all. As the sun sets, a glorious sight appears in the distance. It is a gilded longship whose white sails bear the angate glyph EN, the emblem of the sorcerer Entasios. As she draws level with you, there is a creak like the bough of an oak bending in the wind. You look up at the figurehead, a voluptuous mermaid carved of burnished wood. She has opened her lips, and though you can barely believe it, now speaks to you. Entasios knows you seek him. Climb aboard, then, and be conveyed to his island. That sounds like a perfectly good idea. And also probably a good stopping point before proceeding to the next episode. Oh no, we can go with this, right, yeah. For days that turn into weeks, the longship bears you relentlessly north. Any player who is wounded can restore his or her endurance score to normal. We are all good. But we should set party marching order. You know, I kind of want to put the sage in front for one encounter. There we go. And now we can remove Puldro's token. I'll do this for the next party marching order and see how it goes. We'll revert facing. There we go. Though you put numerous questions to the figurehead, she seems a creature of little intellect, whom Entasios simply placed there as a diversion for passengers. Her conversation is limited to weather prediction and repeated estimations of the journey time. At night she sings in a lilting voice songs in Angate about bereavement and the faded grandeur of Silentium. That's a hint to the fact that Entasios mourns his lost love, in case we hadn't researched and found out about it. The shields along the sides chime magically to give her song's musical accompaniment. On the deck are blankets, food, and other comforts needed for the voyage. As you find the nights getting colder, you fetch thick furs from a locker in the stern. At last, the figurehead announces journey's end. Tomorrow we dock at the island of Magister Entasios. And at the island we shall arrive in the next episode, I reckon. I'm just getting there now, and that is where we shall be. Right. I'm going to leave this episode here. I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and some of you who have played the adventure may know what happened to those people on the island and if we could have possibly saved them. Or possibly have discovered some useful item that would help us later on in the quest. If you do, maybe I'll find out on a future playthrough. But for now, I'm bidding you all a very fond farewell, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'll say goodbye for now, though, and see you all next time. Cheerio, everybody.